Hello everybody, getting ready to go into Math 6, Quarter 1, Week 2 lesson plans, and anime PowerPoint math video at AOL.com for questions or course materials. Let's go into our next page here, which is our title page here, Week 2 here, of PowerPoints and or MP4 videos. So students, make sure you put your name date here on your sign up. Hello everybody, getting ready to do week 2 here, classwork for Math 6 quarter 1, week 2. And the standards here are the number system, 6.ns.7c. Understand the absolute value of a rational number as its distance from 0 on the number line. Interpret absolute value as magnitude for a positive or negative quantity in a real world situation, and that covers also 6.ns.7 and then 6.ns.7d. And then also we have an ELA, English Language Arts Literacy, RST 0.6 through 8.7 standard here. Integrate quantitative or technical information as it works in a test with a version of that information expressed visually, for example in a figure, a diagram, a graph, or a table. So you have an English Language Arts standard here as well. And week 2 is 1.3 absolute value classwork homework part 1, and then 1.3 absolute value classwork homework part 2, and then we go into 2.1 GCF greatest common factor classwork homework part 1, and then our quizzes and our tests for this week, week 2 of your Math 6. We have absolute value quiz, 1.3 absolute value quiz, 1.3 module 1 quiz, part 1, and then we go into a module 1 test classwork part 1 as well. So we have 3 assessments here as well as your classwork here and homework. And so our intro to week 2 is the Common Core Standard 6.ns.7c, focuses on understanding absolute value as the distance from 0 and interpreting it in real-world context. The Common Core Standard 6.ns.6a, which focuses on understanding opposite signs of numbers and their placement on the number line. So that's basically what the standards are that we cover here. And then the learning targets are, in week 2, recognize opposite signs as indicating locations on opposite sides of 0. Understand that the opposite of a number is the number itself. And then finally, identify that 0 is its own opposite. Your resources here for week 2 again are animated PowerPoints or video versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test worksheets, activities, and tasks. All class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or videos, homework quizzes, and test assignments available online with 24/7 access, which is down here as well. And then your test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates, after the student submits their test or quiz, and then access for all. available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, and they are closed captioned for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired, in 100 languages. And then your point totals here for week 2, there's 60 points for your classwork, 26 points in note-taking, 28 points of homework, and then quizzes are 58 points, and then the test points are 25 points. It comes out to 197 points for week 2. And we go right in here to accommodations and modifications here. Available online via Google Classroom interface. That is grades, classwork, homework, quizzes, tests. Zoom tutoring on request is available online. And we start out here with 1.3 absolute value. And our standard here is 6.ns.7c, which is understand the absolute value of a rational number as its distance from 0 on the number line. Interpret absolute value as magnitude for a positive or negative quantity and a real world situation. And our points here, for 1.3 classwork part 1 is we got 26 points here of note taking, and then 22 points on your classwork sheet, and that's for part 1 classwork here. And then 1.3 part 2, which is the homework. Well, actually, we got part 2 here, classwork 1.3 part 2. Same, that we have the same standard here, 6.ns.7c, and then we have 18 points of classwork and then 0 points of note taking. And then we go into our homework here, 1.3 part 2 homework. I'm calling it part 2 homework, and there's 8 points here on your homework sheet for 1.3 part 2 absolute value. Then we go into 1.3 quiz. We have a quiz, 1.3 quiz, and that is 12 points on the quiz. 1.3, 6.ns.7c. And then we go into our 1.3 quiz, which is our mod quiz here. So it'll be another module quiz. Ready to go on? Are you ready to go on? And this one, understand the absolute value of a rational number. Interpret absolute value as magnitude in a real world situation. So this one's got 25 points here on this quiz. And then we go into our mod 1 assessment readiness chapter unit 1 test here. And we got 25 points on this test. And then continuing on here, Math 6 quarter 1 week 2 lesson plans. So again, 2.1 grading, greatest common factor reading startup. So we actually have an ELA standard here that applies, which is ELA literacy, RST 0.6 through 8.7. Integrate quantitative or technical information in words in a test with a version of that information expressed visually, for example, in a diagram, model, graph, or a table. And for this lesson here, you got 6 points on this classwork lesson here. And then we go into 2.1 part 1 classwork with a math standard here, 6.ns.4. Find the greatest common factor of two whole numbers. And for this classwork, it is 14 points here for 6.ns part 4, part 1, 14 points. And then we go into the homework here for 6.ns point 4, 2.1 part 1 homework. And we got 20 points on that homework assignment. And then we go into 6.ns.4 quiz 2.1 part 1, and this will cover part 1 of this quiz in week 2, and we got 21 points on this quiz here. So that is your week 2 lesson plans. Animated PowerPoint Math video at AOL.com for questions, course materials. Thank you very much.